I'm a man who believed that I died 20 years ago, and I live like a man who is dead already. I have no fear whatsoever of anybody or anything.
Webb. I am an investigative journalist, and in 1996 I wrote a series of stories entitled Dark Alliance, which was about CIA involvement in drug trafficking.
I knew a man who once said death smiles at us all. All a man can do is smile back.
We've opened Skull and Bone, the secret society. It's so secret we can't talk about it. What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go on. I'm sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the red number 322.
I sad duty to report this afternoon that my friend and colleague Tim Russell collapsed and died early this afternoon.
I may die in this cell tonight or in the arena tomorrow. I am a slave. What possible difference can I make?
And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of Already Dead, your favorite weekly parapolitical call-in show. Today we are missing Austin. We are absent a co-host, but I do have Radix, Verum, or Christina to join me, and I'll have to get someone for next week because Austin will be out next week too. So I don't know if you guys have anyone in mind. You feel free to suggest them. I don't know. I'll figure someone out last minute. Worst case scenario, we'll bring in Jacob and we'll have him pull double duty, producer and guest. So we'll figure something out one way or another. But throw out guests. Yeah, I'm glad to have you with me, Christina. Man, I've been meaning to touch base with you for a while, anyways, with all the craziness going on in the world. Not many better people to talk about with all the weird stuff going on. Me and you have a very similar interest in the type of research we're into, and we are in peak losing our fucking mind season. So, any thoughts, just kind of on all of this?
Full-blown Gladio.
Yeah.
Strategy of tension. I mean, 2025 itself has been insane if you think about all of the events that have happened so far, like going back to January, all the bizarre shooting incidents. My goodness. And we're
right now,
we still have 2 more months left.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's hard to even keep up with as a content creator, everything going on. I know I've gotten more into the kind of doing more of like a Monday through Friday morning show, and I just struggle to keep up. My show wasn't even really a news show so much as I cover news that I find interesting occasionally, because I'm not someone who really chases headlines per se, unless it's something that interests me. And it's been interesting me. It's been right up my alley for a while, and I just can't keep up. We've got what the closed door Acosta session stuff going on recently. There was Epstein stuff before that, which it was like a week ago or something that the birthday book dropped. I forget specifically, but we forgot.
It's already passed through the radar and gone under the radar. Now we've moved on to other things, and now we see Ghislaine Maxwell at the Lomax prison going to yoga classes. So, in a few months, she'll be moved to a halfway house and quietly back into the world, I guess. Wouldn't surprise me at this point. We've
Absolutely.
got Kash Patel at the latest FBI oversight hearing, literally saying that there's no evidence that Epstein trafficked anyone to anybody. And it's like, what is Ghislaine in prison for then? And what was he prosecuted for when he mysteriously, disappeared in federal custody?
And when asked if he had reviewed these documents, of course he had not, which is the same exact thing, ironically, or not even really ironically, I think we're just seeing a pattern here. I think it's very, very clear the signals come from the top. The Acosta closed door meeting over the weekend with the Democratic Oversight Committee, every single one of them's claimed that he was just being evasive, and he essentially took the cash stance of that. I stand by that, despite the fact there were something along the lines of 40 witnesses, that I trusted my team and their determination, and I take full responsibility, despite the fact I'm also saying I haven't looked at any of these 302s, anything whatsoever, so I can't actually give you a reasoning for why these things aren't credible. But I can tell you my team said that we shouldn't look into it. I won't give you any names of my team, but it's just this kind of runaround. I take full responsibility, yet I have no idea why we did this. But knowing they probably won't really take any sort of responsibility. So this seems to be, it's coming from the top, but I don't know. I'm really at the point, I know we've gone things shut down in the past, and who knows, maybe a couple more influencers might end up taking hitting the dust in the meantime for distractions. But I really do think that this is inescapable and has reached between that, especially once you pair it with an ongoing genocide in Gaza, that's like they're almost inextricable. You almost can't pull the two apart. I don't know how these next, because I don't even know if we're not even a year into the Trump administration yet, so we're in for a wild ride.
Yeah. If this is any idea of what is to come in the future, it's accelerating. I feel like that's what's been happening. They're just kind of they need to move along. We have to do greater Israel, and so we just gotta bulldoze ahead, right? Mm-hmm. That's how it feels, that they just don't really care either. I think part of it too is sort of like they already have their Palantir, they've already got their kind of technocratic grid in place. Elon Musk has Starlink, and all these private intelligence companies spying on us. I think they just kind of don't care anymore. And then in some cases, I think they want you to know what they're doing. I think that's part of like the intimidation factor.
Yeah, intimidation factor is an interesting point to go into. We were actually talking before we started and how funny it is in that, like, me and you were kind of, I think, talking a little about having like part-time jobs and stuff, and it was kind of like the idea that our lifestyles and the content creating that we do has kind of enabled us to kind of have a little bit of a side thing going on. Like, I don't know your personal situation, but I know for me, if like the mob got upset with me right now, I've had some hot takes with the Charlie Kirk stuff. A lot of people have gone upset at me about. I stand by everything I said, but people have gone upset for me for saying truth at times where people are reacting emotionally. And I could easily, if somebody wanted to, start some sort of campaign, people probably, maybe, I don't even know if they'd be able to get successful in getting me fired right now, but it'd be a part-time job, it'd be whatever, you'd be inconveniencing me. If anything, you're being more of a dick to my boss than you are to me, because at this point, like, I'm honestly just more kind of hanging on just to kind of help out here and there, pick up a few $100, more just help out because I kind of friendly terms type deal, whatever. So just kind of the idea of just that here we are now, but not everyone did that. Not everyone... I mean, obviously not everyone turned to podcasting, but even not that, not everyone developed side gigs, did other things, insulated them. Many people rode the course and stuck through and didn't take the signals from the last time. And now we're getting this whiplash where left is right and right is left. And now the righties are doing it. And like, so I don't know. It's just, I think I find it interesting, the whiplash, and just kind of, hate to say a toe-to-so, but a toe-to-so.
Yeah, exactly. And I think too, look at the economy right now and the jobs market generally. I think there are a lot of people, especially content creators, who are in bad places because they relied on platforms like YouTube to be their primary source of income or whatever, which, is not a good idea. And so once that kind of drops off, or you're not constantly like churning stuff out, that is, you really can't like survive just doing that unless you're getting some kind of financial backing in some way. Like, I look at some of the conservative influencers out there, they're being bankrolled by, very wealthy people to say certain things. And now we're learning, about these influencer meetings that are happening in the Hamptons with billionaires like Bill Ackman, where, people are getting the talking points, and obviously in exchange for financial compensation. And then there is the degree to which Peter Thiel has infiltrated the media, which I think is kind of underreported and really kind of misunderstood, in the sense that he has infiltrated the left and the right media, and people kind of tend to see, certain spheres of the right, like, oh yeah, Peter Thiel's butt boy or whatever, and they don't realize, no, he actually has a bunch of other proxies as well. He has people on the left and on the right. So that is equally concerning.
Yeah, on that influencer idea and kind of the somewhat the techie side of it, this is actually something I think I was talking about the morning show the other day. I was just recalling that I remember I had like a while back made some sort of I don't know, I was just kind of dunking on Josh Hammer, which I don't know if that name rings a bell to you.
Oh, I know who he is.
Yeah, he's the guy who debated Dave Smith. He's the editor of Newsweek. He's kind of been on every major platform aside from like Rogan that you really could think of. I mean, I've been on some large platforms too, but he's been on way larger. And I just remember a while back, I had looked at just kind of some of our metrics. Like once you've been in this game for a while, you get good at kind of like understanding metrics a little bit. And I remember I looked at, I was like, oh, he has a podcast. And I was like, I wonder what his metrics are. And so I just thought this was particularly interesting. I looked at him again. Like a while back, I'd use these as like a dunk just to fuck with him. But it's been a significant period of time, and he's been through multiple huge platforms, and his name been brought up in huge scandals like he is now with the Ackman thing. He's already like kind of someone who's put out his commentary, and here's my take on what happened because I was kind of in the fray, blah, blah. And despite all that, here is just an idea of where he's at. And I want to be very clear, this isn't a flex at all in the sense that I'm trying to say I'm big and great. If anything, I have a pretty small show. Just look at this right here, just an idea. Here's him. 80 reviews on Spotify. This is the editor of Newsweek. 4.1 stars, and I have the No Way Jose, just me, some dude making maybe like a couple K a month or so off this. He's probably getting six figures from Israel. Like, I'm not even kidding. He probably is. And I have a 4.7 stars with 129. So which I think is a pretty fair indicator of who has the larger audience. And he's been getting bankrolled by by probably Netanyahu to the tunes of I don't know how. Oh, to be fair, a cutout from like Ackman probably somehow. But yeah, he is completely an Israeli mouthpiece, and all it is some idiots who are good at noticing patterns and like to say no words online can just completely just like, old school Halo 1 roll up to him and like teabag him over and over and over again. Like this is where we're at. If I get determined to, I can on command damn near ratio him. And I'm not even a large count. And it's just you're able to read AstroTurf and you see, I don't know. I guess maybe there's a little bit. I'm torn sometimes in this tech game when I see stuff like this because it's so hollow. No one cares about these people at all to an absurd degree. Like I don't think people realize what I just showed you, how absurd that is. Like I don't at all want to think that like I'm aggrandizing myself. I have a very small show. That's how little people fucking care about what Josh Hammer has to say, despite the fact he's been on every major platform and is been in like huge scandals, debated Dave Smith multiple. I just really can't express a editor of a major publication in the United States. No one fucking cares what he has to say.
No one listens to him. No one cares. Just like no one cares about what Barry Weiss has to say. And yet she's going to be maybe taking over like CBS or something. This is just where we're at, the level of stupidity. Josh Hammer is somebody that is entirely unimpressive. I don't know if you've seen some of the things he said recently. He went on with, what is her name? Dana Lash or something.
Real quick, on that point, I almost mentioned it. I just did want to say, he's so uninteresting that I am, for research purposes, I almost should look into his take on the recent stuff. And I actually went to his podcast, and it was only like 20 minutes long. And I was like, I do not want to listen to Josh Hammer speak for 20 minutes, so I just don't care. And that's how bad. I just don't care what he has to say. But sorry, go on.
Like, you know what? On second thought, it's not worth the time. He went on with this lady Dana, and he was howling about the great Care Bear conspiracy, as I like to refer to them as. But it just saying the craziest things. And then the allegation, of course, is that he was on the call with Shulman, one of the last phone calls, I believe, with Charlie Kirk, like a kind of group call, which he has not talked about, which I find strange. And of course, he is one of the one of the main people who's been coming out since the assassination to kind of like, defend and gatekeep Charlie's reputation as like somebody who loves, the Zionists and loves the mafia state. And you're not allowed to question that. You're not allowed to talk about if maybe, he was starting to push back on these people or, obviously under pressure from them. You're not allowed to question that or you're crazy. And of course, he's one of these people who calls people woke right and is basically calling for purges of the Republican Party of essentially anybody that isn't Israel first.
God, what was I going to say? Speaking of gatekeeping, I think that's an interesting topic, given I think kind of the circles we swim in. And there's certain people that I could actually say that me and you probably likely have great amounts of respect for different reasons and different folks. There's been a few notable people that, people I think probably know who I'm talking about. A few different ones that kind of have taken a bizarre angle in all of this latest Kirk stuff. In this, many of these are these people who kind of taught us. Many of us along the way, all the different reasons inside of why you should be suspicious of Israel, and you've kind of learned all these stats over time, and then we have certain people out there now that are just, wow, this is absurd and ridiculous that you would even have this idea. Like I did a little bit of joke on my one of my streams where I went to the Wikipedia page where it's like the list of Israeli assassinations, and I just kind of, and not even a slow scroll down, but like a fairly fast one, and like not super fast, but like a, and I kind of did the Jeopardy song while we waited for it to get to the bottom, and then after that, then I just kind of it was a long Jeopardy song. I had to like literally multiple verses, and then when I got to the bottom, I kind of made the point that it was like, hey, just kind of made the analogy. It's like if I went over to my friend's house and I was like, wow, this is a beautiful granite countertop, and it was like, where did you get this done? I think I'd love to get a granite countertop myself, and they went, guess. Like, the first thing I would do is probably go look online and see who the leader in the industry is. Like, that would be the move. They would make the short list. And so that's kind of, I understand the idea of, like, wait for evidence, but we are dealing with a very, very unique situation here, and there are only certain people that can fit this niche. We got CIA. Really, it is kind of intel agencies. This whole Troon story is just kind of almost laughable.
It's ridiculous.
So yeah, I don't just kind of thoughts. Like it's really just even I feel like maybe gatekeeping's the wrong way to put it. I honestly feel like there's a multiple forces going on at the same time. It's really hard to differentiate what it is. There is a genuine. I know everyone jokes how getting the call. There is. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, well, that's a genuine thing. If I was these people, I would actually be a little bit like, oh shit, like some of these people are like major figures that have made some big upsets and upset some big people, some big old stars. So yeah, I would be concerned. There's also, I think, maybe a concept of like kind of a vacuum has been created and kind of natural incentives. And maybe some of these people could be grifting to some extent, but just kind of falling in line. This like, oh, now we're the gatekeepers that fill this slot, that we're the kind of, you just kind of naturally you have different incentives in place. I don't know if it's a naivete, because I think a lot of these people to some extent are a little bit normies too, because I think they've kind of sat themselves in this spot between like the us's and the respectable. So they've kind of had to toe this line of like, anytime something, when they're dealing, say with McMartin, like say the first time that first report comes out that they said cleared everything, they go, oh, like these type of people are like, oh, I'm done. I'm not even looking into this anymore. Whereas people like us would be like, then we find out later, oh, here's the other report that kind of vindicates all this. And you're like, okay, yeah, there are tunnels, this, that, and whereas these are the people that are like, oh, that's just, they, and I guess maybe it's a threshold of evidence, or maybe it's these certain people that, hang out more in black and white whereas we hang out in shades of gray. I'd be interested in your thoughts. I think there's a whole lot of different things going on, but I also think at the very least, I think the fact that people are upset about this is kind of a good thing for people like me and you, because I do think that kind of is ushering us into I don't know, kind of getting bigger audiences, I guess. It kind of is, people recognize some sort of artificial something going on or something they don't like at this level, and they're kind of reacting to it.
Yeah, I mean, a couple things here. I think number one, a lot of people who become, sort of that gain these bigger platforms and have a bigger following tend to be people who are, in some cases, like, look, you have to be kind of charismatic. You have to have a bit of like ego to you. So I think that, people have these personas that they inhibit online, and they cultivate a specific audience, or, they gain a following. And then in some ways, I think people feel like they have to cater to their audience or what their audience might want. I think there's a lot of opportunism as well, because let's be honest, a lot of people who are like somebody who's hosting a daily show on Rumble or something, the goal of that obviously is to build a bigger platform. It is to appeal to more people. So when, as sad and gross as it is to say, when a vacuum, comes in place and one asset that perhaps outlived their usefulness is removed, what I want to say here is that they already have other assets lying in wait, ready to be activated. And these do not have to be necessarily winning assets. I would also like to remind people of the fact that if you think the independent media is independent, that is 100% false. Look at the people out there like Curtis Yarvin, who are totally backed by people like Peter Thiel. And then they create networks, they create publications, they create outlets, things like Passages Press or whatever. And they start employing all these people. And there's kind of these layers of obfuscation of where the money is coming from. But I find it interesting, looking at some of the characters, right, who are saying weird things. Yeah, they had already penetrated the mainstream media as far back as probably forever, I want to say. The press has always been controlled to a degree because it relies on access to government officials and government sources. And so in many ways, the government can mislead people. Look, at the aviary, Richard Doty, Mirage Men, and how they can literally drive somebody insane by feeding them nonsense and getting them to believe it. And that's what I want to say is some of these people could be unwittingly acting as an asset in some cases. And then I think there are other characters who, if you go back to their very early history, it appears that maybe they could have been compromised a long time ago. Maybe going back to, 2017 at certain events that occurred then, things like Charlottesville, things like January 6th. And so,
that Catboy Bussy will get you.
I look at things like that and I think, yeah, it's possible that this person is being cultivated in some sense. And for him specifically, right? We hear all the time that he's the most banned person, and yet he was running around with Kanye West and Milo, a known federal operative, Ali Alexander, a known predator, child predator and operative, Karl Rove rent boy. And so these figures have always been questionable to me. And that's not to say that I don't disagree. I agree with a lot of things that they say, some of these people, but of course, that's what they would want, right? They say some things that you agree with, but then, this could be somebody who is an asset. In that specific individual, I've seen photographed with Chuck Johnson, who's absolutely Peter Thiel's butt boy, the front man for Clearview AI, which was used, by the way, to identify J6ers. And Clearview AI is just a cutout for Peter Thiel. It was Chuck Johnson who actually made Peter Thiel, brought him into the FBI to become an informant with the code name of Genius. So this is the ecosystem that we're in. Okay, information is a like a military battle space. This is like mind war, it's psyops, it's information control, how information is released, the drip of certain people getting certain scoops or, information provided to them. And it all follows a pattern. Candace Owens, she's kind of being set up, in my opinion, as the person who is like asking the questions, but then she says some crazy stuff about ventilators and tunnels, and you're like, what are you talking about? Putting out the picture of Tyler Robinson and the Dairy Queen. Where and when is this picture from? There's no way for us to know. We do not know who gave it to her, but I find it interesting. Somebody's clearly giving her information. And I look at her history, right? Where does Candace Owens come from? Well, she comes from an Israeli talent agency called Explore Talent. The same one, by the way, where Lauren Boebert comes from, Scott Pressler comes from. And these are all, they're all controlled assets. And this is how it is. And then she was leftist for a while. She created that doxing site. And then she was basically working for the Zionists. She was a TPUSA, one of these, like, traveling to Israel, putting out the talking points. And so I look at her, who she married to, right? This guy, the British guy that has millions of dollars, and his father is like tied in with the British elites. It's very, very interesting. And then of course she's doing these ad reads, and it's like, your family has money. The weird Bridget Macron thing. I mean, that's so, even if it is a questionable male or female, why does anybody care? Like, what is the value of this? What does anyone care about? Like, why does this matter ultimately? Like, you're not really doing anything to oppose the systems that are in place that control us. And
I mean, if she does have a dick, that's a pretty big deal. I mean, that is pretty fucking revolutionary. If you're like, they've just been having a dude for decades, just flaunting about in your face.
I think it's funny that she had to submit photographic evidence that she is a woman.
I don't know what that means. Like, I know all the jokes of funny. Like, fucked up rims and stuff.
It's just one of the funniest things that you're like, in a legal suit, I have to legally prove that I'm a woman.
Gotta show
it's
dong.
So bizarre. And then there's other figures too. Ian Carroll, I think he, is another one that I question a lot too about, is this person an asset? And it's, you start to develop.
That narrative was ready to go. That narrative was ready to go. Everyone, ridiculous and absurd. This is absurd. This is absurd. And it was like, oh, Ian Carroll. I was like, yeah, one guy said some retarded shit. And everyone was like, that was retarded.
Right. Well, what they do is they shitcoat things, right?
Yeah.
They'll put out, and they'll cultivate these people who 80% of what they say you agree with, and then they do these weird things to discredit regular people looking into these things, or they do the straw man, right? They construct a straw man argument, like Nick Fuentes was literally posting in Telegram that Jackson Hinkle and the American Communist Party in Russia were like behind the Charlie Kirk thing, with zero evidence, of course, just because he doesn't like these people, and that's how he is. He doesn't like Candace, so he's beefing with her. But I think it's very strange the way that they straw man the idea that Israel, it's crazy to think that they're involved, blah, 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 blah. Why precisely would that be? They at no point talk about the actual things that matter. They'll bring up easily disprove things, or they'll demand that you provide hard evidence when there's nothing that has been provided really, except what were obviously a fed fan fiction chat log. There's no pictures of Tyler Robinson with a rifle. There's nothing, as far as I can tell, that
Man of Steel
that ties him to this. The magic bullet, the Man of Steel.
Christina, I have to ask you. I know I'm a comic book nerd. And, like, there is part of me that does believe in things like Revelation of the Method. And with all the stuff with this, it has been something that's been fucking with my head a lot. Because there's like, I don't want to go into, oh, it's all fake and it's Masonic theater territory.
Right.
But if you get into the Man of Steel stuff and then also some of the weird boomer posting from before, and if you do get into, like, you understand like Crowley concepts of like inversion and like, you know, kind of swapping reality, it's almost like a spitting in the face of the American people. Kind of this like satanic rituals are doing, and if you're thinking inversion, you didn't happen to see that movie? Have you seen Man of Steel? Have you seen the recent, not the Man of Steel, but the recent Superman movie that came out?
No.
Okay, well I have to. I mean, I think I've mentioned it, but it literally is the current situation. Like the whole plot is, there's evil country. It's basically 100% analogy for Israel. It's straight up a parallel of Israel, and they're getting ready to murder like essentially a occupied population. They're getting ready to like completely genocide them, obviously. And there's Lex Luthor, this like billionaire tech guy who is kind of working with them to provide them weapons and stuff. And he's also, the whole deal is to take half the, like he takes a part of the land, which if you know the Trump deal and all the stuff with breaking up the Gaza land, that's even more like what the hell. And then we have this thing, and like literally the end of that movie is like Superman, like literally like, as everything's getting ready to go, the world, like all these poor people getting ready to get murdered, he comes in and saves the day, you know, kind of Superman style.
Oh boy!
And it's like literally, and it really was a great movie. I thought it like really kind of those feelings of Superman, truth, just, American way, hopefulness. But if you do have a sinister outlook of that, and if you pair that with this, think about inversion. And like kind of what is the opposite of that? It's kind of like all of this is going on, and literally a complete, your influencers that you think might have been turning or dying, we're moving forward with a plan. It is kind of, if you are looking at this from like a satanic ritual type, Crowley type working thing, you're like, what the hell are we looking at? The day after September 11th, they're getting ready to, right as Tucker's getting ready to go back, it is dropping a 9/11 thing, and so it's like getting ready to come back up. It's like, no, we'll muddy the water with another deep event so you're not as like stuck to that because you're caught up in another frenzy. So I mean, I'll be honest, I kind of spin myself with the Tucker Candaces. I mean, whether I buy the fights, because it is like, say with the 9/11 thing, like I just mentioned, Tucker was getting ready to drop that, and then this happened. So it's like, that would have been, I think, a big deal had there been like, you know, a mum news cycle, basically. So,
yeah. No, exactly. And the thing to understand, too, is the fact that if they have fully penetrated the mainstream media, they absolutely have done so with the alternative and independent media as well, 100%. Witting or unwitting, you know, certain people are propped up to be like that opposition. It's like kayfabe, right, in wrestling, where you've got one person that is like the tough guy, and then you've got your other person who will like, you know, take the fall or whatever. And they set up these kind of like fake things. I see a lot of that. But also it's not beyond the realm of possibility that some of these people who were, you know, kind of acting as these gatekeepers, these mouthpieces, maybe got tired of doing that because they see regular people like us able to come on and say what we want. And I think that that was something Charlie Kirk himself was experiencing because he was doing debating. He was being continuously confronted by people. And I think it probably got to the point where, I mean, I don't know if you've seen it, these clips of this rabbi in Israel who was
giving
him literally said he was giving him Masbara talking points,
and he said, like, he didn't even know what he was saying. He didn't want, I'm paraphrasing, but he didn't even want to be saying that. And despite that, he was just, you know, he didn't even really know that much about it. He was just saying what he was told. Like, really, like, I was like, how is this a quote that you just said, just flippantly?
And then these other people who their whole thing is criticizing Israel are like, oh no, nothing to see here. While it's literally in your face. While Yossi Cohen, the former head of the Mossad, is getting on TV after Netanyahu's doing his I Didn't Do It tour, and he's going, Mossad doesn't do stuff like this. After they were just bragging on 60 Minutes about how they are a global production company. The world is their stage. They're the actors. They manipulate everybody, laughing about what they did with the pagers in Lebanon and how they waited years to pull that off, created a shell company, waited for everything to get into place. Like, they brag, they boast about it. And then going back to their history, if you have read Ronan Bergman's book, Rise and Kill First. Ronan Bergman, by the way, is an Israeli American, works for the New York Times. but is Israeli, I believe, dual citizen. So he actually had to get permission from the Israeli military intelligence to write this book, to get access to records, because they do not have a free press, by the way, in Israel. And he writes about, in this book, Rise and Kill First, their global targeted assassination program, where they have conducted since 1948 over 2,300 targeted assassinations worldwide. And a lot of these were false flag like style operations where it was blamed on an Arab or, for whatever suits their purposes, until years later where documents were revealed and it came out that no, it was actually them. This is what they do, and they brag about it, and they have this track record. And I think that is, if you're objectively looking at the situation and you're being seriously thoughtful about it, reject everything that you're being told and just ask the questions. Number one, who benefits from this? Number two, who has the means, the motive, the opportunity, the ability, the capabilities? Okay, who was closest to Charlie Kirk? Who were his donors? Who was his security team? Who were the people he was talking to? Who were the people that he was getting advice from? These are the questions that should be asked if you're going to investigate something like this. You always start with who is the closest to these people. And what you also do is you observe the behavior of people before and after. So what I did was I went back and I looked at a lot of these Zionists who were coming out now. We love Charlie Kirk, blah, 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 blah. You go back just 3 months ago to July, and they were all attacking him publicly. And I was going back and screenshotting them and posting it like, you people are unbelievable. It's disturbing. So that would be, if you're being fair and you don't have some kind of agenda, why would that not be one of the first suspects? The fact that Netanyahu has made like how many videos at this point denying his involvement, how he, within 27 minutes or something, he's making a tweet about what happened. The Jerusalem Post is the first to report on Charlie's passing. Well, who gave them that information, and why the Jerusalem Post? Isn't that strange? The Chabad plane leaving, turning off its transponder. These are the questions we don't have answers for. George Zinn, his behavior, the other decoy with the pellet gun, the dude with the curly hair that yells USA, USA, and starts like right after this happens. These people are obvious decoys that were put in there to cause these distractions to allow the real perpetrator to get away. And I think it's insane to watch some of these people deny, and then not only deny, but what they're doing is dishonest. They're calling people conspiratards. They're, calling you names. They're laughing at like it's stupid or crazy to be looking at what I just outlined. Nothing about that even sounds conspiratorial. Yeah. It's bizarre.
Well, I think it's a sign of their lack of intelligence. Like, for example, all the people clamoring for the death penalty, like, I can tell, like, I've posted multiple times, just pictures of Timothy McVeigh, like, learn from history, because it's like just stupid, simple things, like this thing of like clamoring, oh, kill him, before even knowing. It's like you're literally feeding into, they're gonna try to kill. If you keep doing that, they will kill him. They will kill him lickety split, and you'll be sitting 10 years later like, oh wow, I really wish he was alive because we've learned a whole lot of new information. That is how this game works. So. I know people don't. These are people who haven't looked at things in the past. Any one of these deep events, if you look at the things on the ground, it's almost never what it looks like to begin with. Like, when has there ever been a deep event that is, what it looks like on its face from the jump?
Exactly. It's been how many years since JFK, and they still won't even release the documents after they promised they were going to do so. No unredacted releases of those documents, because we all know where that would lead. They're not going to do that. The fact that, back then they were able to control information a lot better. They were able to edit the Zapruder film. I mean, knowing who Zapruder is also kind of funny. Yeah, so if that's how long they can keep things secret to cover things up, it's just crazy to me that these people would be making these definitive statements now when there's literally zero evidence that has been presented to anybody. And from the beginning, the way that this has been handled has been incredibly bizarre. They, at the Butler attempt, the assassination attempt in Butler, they stopped everybody and looked at their phones or took their phones. That did not happen there. And I understand there's a difference, right? One is obviously a presidential candidate. Okay, so he's going to have more security, federal, Secret Service, whatever. And it's going to be a bigger deal. But it's bizarre that all these people, 3,000 people were there. Nobody's really stopped it. They arrest the decoys. And one interesting thing is the first person that they arrested when they announced that they had a suspect was some guy, Karashi or something. And then they released him. That's not even George Zinn. Nope. The guy with the pellet gun, the other guy that was chanting and celebrating literally 1 second after it happened. That's not a normal response, by the way, to somebody being assassinated right in front of you. That's a traumatizing thing. Your immediate response would not be to turn around and start smiling and chanting. This is insane.
The camera is still so damning to me. The camera thing, the guy, that I just, and I'm sure you've seen the responses from the Colvey or whatever, the one guy who floated out the magic bullet HIPAA violation that he got. It's just astounding that this guy. I mean, I used the example. I told there was a guy who committed suicide in front of my house before he technically was brain dead when I found him, and he had his friends that didn't know it, and he was locked in his car. And I kind of realized what it was, that he had shot himself and he'd been there for clearly hours and was a stable condition. And I told him, hey, you guys can do what you want, but I wouldn't touch this. I would call the cops. He clearly shot himself in the head. He clearly has some sort of head wound. I don't know. I'm not really a medical guy. I wouldn't recommend moving him, but because they didn't know. They knew I'd been in the military at the time. I think you know some medical stuff. And my first instinct was you guys should probably not break into his car or anything, because it's going to look like something that it's not. You're going to be contaminating a scene. Whereas right now, he's stable. There's nothing you can do to help his condition. You should just call the cops and step back, because and the idea that someone would have this idea that I'm worried people are going to come and steal. I want to know who the hell the black kid was that was supposedly stealing hats. Because because now that I think about it, what the fuck? If you're pulling the camera, and then your excuse is, there's some black kids. I actually never even looked at the video of the supposed kid stealing hats, but what a bizarre thing to do. And then if you think of it from a narrative perspective, it's now that gives you this silly, flimsy precedent of somebody stole some shit, so I was worried they were going to steal SD cards. As if if you're someone's doing chimping out behavior of stealing shit, I don't think they're going to be oh, let me go take this SD or take down a camera from this crazy crime scene. So it's just a bizarre, and just these things that people take for granted, some of these, and then people build off of that narrative, like the guy who took the hat, or even that one thing that floated out immediately, that one thing of Charlie Kirk was shot, and within minutes, I swear we already saw the one guy of the video on the thing, and it wasn't until just I think Candace supposedly thinks she found him now. I don't know, obviously. I don't trust her. I'll wait till she says who it is and more comes out. But that whole thing's fishy, even trying to get down to the bottom of whoever had that. I remember thinking multiple times, that's weird how this floated out so quickly. And even then from you get super schizo and you're you think about the other times recently, or particularly the Trump assassination attempt, where you're well, there was somebody on the top. It is was that a seeding out? Oh, you've already been trained. There's already this Pavlovian response. Yep. Look at the roofs. And now, okay, cool. Now we direct you over here. Meanwhile, it's over there. I don't know. It is kind of, there's so much going on. It is impossible. And yet then we have people, it's clearly a leftist. Let's move on. What will it take for you to accept this? I don't know.
The insanity coming from these people, it's sad, it's shameful, it's embarrassing. I don't understand why you wouldn't want to get to the truth, and why these people who, by the way, routinely criticize the government and the feds, now all of a sudden we don't question the feds. They don't lie. They tell us the truth while they're up there saying, Governor Cox, I prayed for 33 hours, chuckles, Kash Patel. And in 33 hours, less than 36 hours, 33 to be precise. You're just going, what the hell
This is
this?
like what, Super Troopers, the Meow game?
It's the insanity of like the things that was coming out of Kash Patel talking about how, we have a note where he indicated that he did it, but the note was destroyed, but we have forensic evidence of what the note said, and they have a picture of it. So, okay.
And then the transcript was, what did they say the word was? The transcript was reconstructed. They're like, oh my God. So no explanation of what that means.
why are we leaving a note under a keyboard if we're just going to admit it, in the text messages to the trans lover boyfriend, in a Discord chat, allegedly? None of this makes sense, where he's talking about, I hope to get away with this and keep this secret until old life, my love. It's just outrageous. Okay, so then in every single element, by the way, of like what the FBI needs to tie him to connect him to in court, he mentions the gun. He mentions his grandfather gave it to him. He talks about, remember when I was engraving bullets? Well, wait a second. I thought this roommate lover didn't know anything about this, but he saw you engraving bullets.
The best part is all the coverage. I'm sure you've done it too, because I've been listening to so much coverage from all different sources and stuff. Is the coverage of people that go, wow, this is some damning information. And you're like, yeah, sure. Okay, yeah, it is. Don't you think it might be a little too damning?
No, it's damning, just not in the way that you think it is. It's damning as in this is an FBI fan fiction, where they're literally talking like cops, you know. Did you do it? You didn't do it, did you? Like a cop would say. It's just wild to me. And then this weird...
Sorry, I didn't mean to, but on that point, I do think there's been so much journalistic integrity that's gone complete shit and through this, and people have jumped from thing to the other. Like, even the furry thing, obviously, I don't know the origin of this shit, or I never hunted it down, but I know one of the articles that came out that supposedly he had been on some furry websites, and there was some weird, the way it was worded, it made you think that there was some sort of pedophile something or other, so I actually looked into it, and it was some fucking journalist from like Daily Mail, and then you go there and you're like, then you look to go trying to find the source of the claim, then it's just a podcast that he went on, this journalist, and so it's like you don't even get to see his actual. There's so many that these claims are just like, I did some research and I'm a journalist here, so take my word for it, and so many people take that and just run with it, and it's been frankly absurd. So like, so much, as you said, an information war, and just the idea of like, it's impossible to even get a grasp of what's real and what's not. Like we everyone's already taking it for granted. This guy is into furries and all sorts of stuff. And like,
where's his digital footprint? Yeah. Where is it? Right? Oh, Crafton, which I think is funny, 24/7 as his handle, allegedly. Crafting, like a crafter. Just the Masonic angle of that, I think, is kind of funny. Although I don't put much stock into it. It's just one, schizosynchronicity or whatever that I note. But even that, okay, they said he was radicalized online. There's no evidence for this. There is nothing of them posting any leftist stuff. In fact, Lancelot Twiggs, the so-called trans lover boyfriend, where's the evidence that this individual is trans? Because I looked at the videos, that's a man with a man's voice. It doesn't look like he's even trying to be a woman. It's bizarre. And then look at some of the things that he was posting about on Reddit. He was on this landlord forum where he was talking about being a landlord, and his family that owns the apartment complex that he was living at with Robinson. He had other roommates prior to that, which is interesting. And what did he do for a living? We don't really know, other than like he liked gaming. They said he wanted to be a gaming star or something. Where's the evidence of that? He had 10 videos on TikTok, and they were not anything impressive or like what you would expect to see from somebody who is trying to be a professional or like grow a platform. It's just really weird. Very bizarre stuff. And then, of course, there is that Mormon LDS intelligence nexus, and the fact that we know from what I have been able to gather, Lance Twiggs' father, Tyler Twiggs, was he was a missionary back in, I think it was 92 or 97. He was in Colombia. So, okay, that's interesting. The grandfather, Jerry Twiggs, is like a pediatric doctor. There's some weird hospital connections that I will get into in my next video that I'm going to put out on this. It's all very strange, though. So I tend to think when they do these events that they actually have multiple potential patsies. And I think that their first patsy fell through for whatever reason. They announced that they had the guy and then they let him go. Oh, no, not the right one. This one will work better or whatever. And it's so strange too that like he even says in the chat logs, the FBI fan fiction, that he spent a week planning for this, just a week. I'm sorry, but no, this was a professional hit, in my opinion. And I don't believe the story that we're being told about where the shot came from, what kind of round it was, the fact that there's no exit wound in the Man of Steel thing. The fact, too, how interesting that in Utah, autopsies are private. So we're not going to get that information. And the information that we got about the Man of Steel thing comes from like a surgeon, not from the coroner, which I find interesting also. And like, oh, it was just under his skin. What?
Yeah.
This like, no, that is bizarre.
That one line was weird. I took that as like to give a benefit of the doubt, like he didn't mean literally right on it, because that makes no fucking sense.
Right.
Like, like, I was like maybe just misstating or just kind of like the under the skin, I don't understand. Like that would be embedded in it. Like even if it somehow did with a claim they made, it would probably be like stuck in the bone, or I don't know. It wouldn't be just like under the. I don't know. Like they make it sound like you're like almost could just pop it out. Like, oh, there it is.
Right. It's strange.
Yeah.
And then of course, you have a lot of people online rushing out with information that's unverified. Which muddies the water and makes it harder. Then there is, of course, the fact that you need to archive stuff as it's coming out because things mysteriously disappear. That's the other thing that I've noticed with this, all these recent mass shootings and events like this, how quickly the digital footprint is completely gone. If you remember just a few years ago, it would take them a few hours to take down all of the accounts across all platforms, so that it gave us time to kind of find them, to archive them, to get evidence about, at least their digital footprint. Now it's like I believe they now have the technology, and it's probably part of the Palantir, these databases that are tracking people across multiple platforms in one platform where they can just take you out across everything and totally erase your digital footprint. It is concerning to me. And I think that, we are seeing the fully operationalized MK Ultra, PTK, Patsy, glow up. But in my opinion, I still look at this and I think the only suspects in my mind, the only people who had the motive, the people who were in the months preceding this attacking Charlie Kirk publicly, where he literally himself, you don't have to rely on anything Tucker is saying, anything Candace is saying. He himself went on to Megyn Kelly's program and he said, like, he seemed scared. And he was talking about the vicious attacks he was getting from these people privately and the things that they were saying. And you could tell he was upset about it, because I've never really seen him go off like that, where he was like holding up his phone saying, they're calling me this, that, and the other. And it seemed like, he kind of ended that by saying, oh, they were saying, come back to us or whatever. And he was like, well, I am an American. Like, I don't represent your country. It's like, oh, really? But you took the money. Unfortunately, that's something that also has to be acknowledged, that look at the foundations of Turning Point USA, first of all. Yep. Who was Charlie Kirk's mentor, right?
David Horowitz,
David Horowitz, but there was another guy before that. I forget his name, that gentleman. He was at the memorial service, but you look at how this organization was set up.
You aren't talking about Shillman, the most recent guy.
No,
You're
not
talking about him,
Shillman.
right? Okay, yeah.
It's like Michael Berkman or something. There's another guy. And then David Horowitz being his main mentor, who we know was a, bio agent. But yeah, so that is, from the beginning, Turning Point was not an organic thing. It had that big backing, and it was essentially used by GOP, by neocons, to kind of reach the younger people and try to get them into the kind of neocon talking points. And Charlie Kirk was notorious for, being the pro-Israel guy. And so I think that it got to the point for them where perhaps he had outlived his usefulness, and they wanted to take full control of this thing that was basically theirs from the beginning, right? All these chapters. And when you think about, too, I remember hearing stories, and I did videos on this a while back. You can go back on my YouTube channels and find them and watch them, where I actually talked to a young kid who had gone to a Turning Point event, and he said they were getting drunk. There was like, they're partying with alcohol, getting people drunk. And then he said, like, there was weird, like, sexual stuff going on, right? Where it was very clear to me they were using these TPUSA events to get people into compromising situations. And the closeness, too, of TPUSA to organizations like Prager University, that is, the CEO is an Israeli former IDF asset, right? Charlie was literally surrounded by these people. Who else is any other suspect besides these people who literally were handling? It appears that they were handling him from the time he was 18 years old. And I feel
the only other suspect would be the CIA, but it would only be because, by extension, because they're upset that he might have been rocking the boat on that relationship.
Yeah, that's possible too. It's just all very strange to me, though, that certain people are acting like, it's crazy to consider these things. No, I don't think it is, when you looked at the history of this organization and how it was being used, how important it was, by the way, to the GOP. And the fact that I played it the other day, the head of the Republican Jewish Coalition did a video event where he literally talked about the woke right being an existential threat. And in this clip, he says, the Democrats are crazy and they're now against us, right? And he said, if we lose the Republican Party, Israel loses all of its support, and we have to have it. Like, until we can be independent, like, we have to have the Republican Party. And he said, we have to purge anybody from the Republican Party that is woke right. And he named specifically Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and one other individual. I don't recall the name, but that was basically, you can see, okay, well, they say they will take out anybody.
Daryl Cooper or Dave Smith, probably.
Yeah, Dave Smith.
Okay.
You can see that they will say, and I've seen them say it, they have no problem executing anybody around the world that they think is an existential threat to their existence of their terror state. So when this guy is literally saying existential threat, and then look at what also was happening. The vote to not release the Epstein files comes right on the heels of this. Quietly, nobody pays attention. We've got all of these state officials, government officials or representatives going to Israel for this 50 states, one Israel event. You've got Mike Huckabee saying Israel's like his wife and all this crazy stuff. It's like, it's just so in your face, so blatant, so disturbing, so dark, so bizarre, so captured. I don't even know what else to say about it. It's so disturbing.
So you got to get a boogeyman. All right. Well, we're probably at the perfect time, I think, to transition over to our call-in portion. We do have a nice little intermission put together by our lovely producer. So go grab some snacks, go take a leak, do good at whatever you got to do. We'll be back in a few minutes. We'll take some calls, And yeah, looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say. I want to bring up that number so I can announce it real quick. See if we can find it. 1-833-722-DEAD. Or that's 3323 if you don't speak in number words. So go check that out. Give us a call if you have any questions, or if you're not a poor, you can give me or Austin money and you can pop in as a video call. We'll be sure to have some of those join us in a minute. Go ahead and roll that beautiful bean footage, Jacob. We'll see you all in a few minutes. Fucking dance in the background. I'm sitting here like, you know what? Good. You didn't fucking harsh my mellow for a second. Like, fucking, I mean, it did, obviously, like the past week. I mean, obviously, I know I got a little bit of flack for my take, but I still was like a little bit like, holy shit, I've been keeping my pistol on my side for the past week. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little bit, but it's just, I don't know when the coordinated all the beepers are going to blow up. Like, I don't know. So it's just being safe. But yeah, I mean, but anyways, it didn't drop the beat for Already Dead at least, and so I'm glad about that. I felt like it would have been weird had it been like the day of or the following day, and we had that like and then I come in this weird, upbeat mood. You're like, guys, Charlie Kirk just died, and you're like, It's been a shit show.
And I think the kid himself, right, is in like some sort of high security ward where they claim he's on suicide watch, and potentially, they put you in a smock whenever that happens, right? You're basically, you can't move your arms, and I'm just considering the idea of, like, you remember what they did with James Holmes. I mean, that kid was kept in like a dissociative state throughout the entire process, I'm just, clearly this ridiculous FBI fan fiction confession that is circulating is clearly, in my mind, the kid himself is allegedly not cooperating, is the last that I've heard as far as the most recent reports on him personally in this moment. And he's refusing to cooperate and has not yet confessed, but yet his own father claims that he confessed. And his father told the authorities he would keep him secured until they could arrive, right?
Yeah, until Bill Ackman could arrive with his 1.2 million.
Yeah, what is that? Oh, my God.
You got me fucked up. It ain't worth the fast moving, no more problems. Little bitches always wanna play with fire. TS, you need TX and no one can deny us. You know what the fuck going on, pussy? Suffocate, rock shit, whole lot of heaviness. You might not like us with your bitch shoes. Don't act like you can keep up with us.
Howdy. Welcome back. I enjoyed that. I hope you guys did too.
That was great.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's get into it. There's one last thing I guess I did want to talk to you topic-wise about all the things going on. I guess maybe we can get, Jacob can work on calls or get other people in here with us, some of the patrons possibly, while we get started on this first topic. But I kind of wanted to hear your thoughts. I've been particularly just flabbergasted and disgusted to the point of calling out people's masculinity to an absurd degree in the past week. Just astounded by the complete 180, the complete, disregard for one's own, self-respect, masculinity, yada, yada, yada. Just, where are you at? Are you blown away by the swift? I know everyone's, trying to be like, well, it's not cancel campaign. It's not woke. It's not this, but it's like, it kind of quacks like a duck, looks like a duck. It's kind of, I right off the bat when they first started making this one account, to collecting all the names. I don't know about you, but I just kind of was curious, and I started just scrolling through it, and I'd say the vast majority of the ones in there were complete histrionics from right-wingers just going nuts because someone disagreed with them. And for the most part, there was not many of those that I was like looking at objectively was like, oh, that's them, advocating for violence. And even then, the times when they were advocating for violence, it was usually some harmless, dumb broad. And even then, it was like, just kind of clearly she just hadn't really thought it through, or maybe there's another way to interpret it. It wasn't like we must kill Charlie Kirk. Like, it wasn't, It wasn't what people were making it out to be. And I don't know. It's been just gross. Just really, really, really gross. And I get the idea of like, a lot of these people, especially the Kimmel situation, these are your enemies or whatever. And so you're like, well, fuck them. But it's kind of like, the weird thing is though, the fuck them also always comes from this, like, it'll be like someone's doing this freak out, say, but for example, at Kimmel, and you're like, okay, but what did he do? And then you see what he said, and you're like, well, he did that. And they're like, yeah, well, fuck him. And it's like, it's always this secondary thing. You know what I mean? It's never like it's never the actual yeah. So it's like, you're just, completely admittedly embracing blind rage. Like, that's all that it is. Like,
honestly, I think that this is embarrassing behavior from people who were wailing about, losing their fucking Teesprings and PayPal not that long ago and their own deplatformings. It's this, what it is an impotent power fantasy, right? It's the fact that they have zero ability to actually go out and physically do anything to anybody that they don't like. So they have this impotent rage. And as soon as they get the opportunity to lash out at the people who they believe have wronged them or the other side, it's the stupidity of the emotional. This is a feminine emotional response. Feminine response is, I need daddy to protect me, or I'm going to lash out at people on an emotional whim without really thinking about the potential consequences of my behavior. And look, I understand the argument too that, and I made it myself, that a lot of these people on the left were doxing J6ers. They created websites to, dox and harass people. They did this for people who donated, like, to the Trump campaign. They put together a map and things like this. They created websites to go after people's advertisers and things like that. So in a way, it's like, yeah, they did kind of create the rules for this, and it is kind of, I understand the cathartic feeling of, oh, finally it's happening to them. But I think that, number one, that website was obviously set up by a scammer that was trying to solicit like crypto donations for it. But number two, when I saw that, the first thing I was thinking of is, this is a federal agent creating a database, like under the, trying to get public support for putting together a database of people who were essentially, in most cases, saying insensitive things about it. And so the other disturbing aspect of this too is how they're trying to kind of make it like, oh, you can't criticize Charlie Kirk now that he's passed away, or he is they're literally calling him a saint and a martyr. And they used his memorial service to essentially hold a political rally where the president announced that he was going to have a cure for autism or an answer to autism, and was talking about tariffs. And I'm just like, what? It was weird, and it had a very pageanty mega church feel to it, which I think is unbecoming of a memorial service, and that's probably because I'm an Orthodox Christian, and we wouldn't behave.
It felt weird.
At that.
I'm not gonna lie, I laughed at the jokes of the people that were like the memes of like the WWE, like the explosions going off, and you're like, welcome to the funeral of my husband. You're like, okay, this feels weird.
It got a little weird, and people were the howling about Steve Miller's speech, and the Zionist freak out about Tucker Carlson talking about the Pharisees eating hummus. That was funny. But then I also look at it and I think, part of me looks at this and I think there is an aspect, like an element to this, that they want us to know they did it, or they at least want us to think that the Zionists did it, while at the same time acting like they don't. In a sense, which I also find interesting. So that's just something that I keep in mind, although I do believe that those are the people with the means, the motive, and who probably had the capabilities to pull something like that off, possibly with help from our own intelligence community, who knows. But yeah, I thought that was very, very interesting, watching these people essentially morph into the left of, from 2017. It's the same behavior, the same hysteria. Oh, this person said something I didn't like, or they offended me, ruin their life.
Yep.
What are you really accomplishing with this?
The thing is that's so gross about it is it destroys yourself. It's just stupid. And as I pointed out today, I didn't really get a ton of traction because maybe people are still salty about it. But I put out a tweet that was like, "Congrats on making Kimmel relevant again," because it's like that's what you guys did. That's literally all you did. Like, you've ceded ground to, like, you were doing the right things. You were winning in the marketplace. No one gave a shit about Jimmy Kimmel anymore. No one.
Exactly.
Like, if anything, I'm annoyed that people are talking about Jimmy Kimmel. Like, and you're like, and it's all these people like, "Oh, this is how they win." Like, what? Like, what have you accomplished? Your like impotent flailing has done nothing but make them seem cool, make them seem relevant again, make them seem heroic. You like,
yeah, and it plays into their false victim narrative, their pseudo oppression. They're constantly being oppressed, which was always bullshit. And now it kind of gives some legitimacy to their false victim narrative, which I find also to be very interesting. It seems, like I said, like there's roles being played here, right? Which I find concerning. And I want to be clear that both parties are obviously in on this game. They work together. And I see the same thing happening on the left that I see happens with the right too, where they present somebody as like an outsider that will speak to, some of the issues that you care about and pretend to be like a working class normal person. Right now, Mamdani is one of them. The other girl, Kat Abdullah, however you say her name, she's another one, where they kind of prop up these left-wing grassroots. Oh, we're gonna push back a little on Israel. That was sort of like what the Squad was when the Justice Democrats put them up in 2018 and presented AOC as like, oh, she's gonna be the outsider of the Democrat Party, and she's going to go after some of these libs. None of that happened. She has voted every time to continue to fund the war machine while she cries about it on TikTok. These people are jokes, and this is essentially how both parties work. They present these fake candidates, fake influencers. We found out how many of these leftists were getting paid with dark money or whatever. That's happening on the right too, with the Teal influence networks, and not just him. People like Shulman, for example, and others. Bill Ackman, people who are funding people on the right. So the whole thing, just to me, I look at these people and I don't trust any of them. That doesn't mean I'll agree with some of the things they say. I'm just suspicious of anybody kind of in the media sphere that has risen to a certain level.
Mm-hmm. All right. Your mom, what's up, dude? You've been sitting there patiently for a while. What'd it do?
Hey guys. Hey Christina. Good to see you on the only show that I contribute to and love.
Nice.
Just very briefly, since you're touching on a lot of stuff that I want to talk about, the Council for National Policy is a conservative organization that was involved in the Franklin credit scandal and all the other bullshit, Boys Town. And Jose, when you have Nick on, it'd be really good to share this little piece of information. Charlie Kirk was a member of the Council for National Policy. So that's crazy. And this thing about his wife being involved in a Romanian charity mission in or ministry in Romania called Romanian Angels. I looked into it a little bit, and the site that they were in is actually a port city. Port cities are notorious for child trafficking. There's really no information on the ClearNet or whatever regarding what was going on, but there's tons of articles about Romanian child trafficking. And one of the articles I found was related to the Romanian government like acquitting a bunch of child trafficking rings. So you can kind of, read through the lines there.
Yeah.
But mainly that's all I wanted to add, just the shit about Erica Kirk being a fucking Fed and being groomed by Trump from her Miss Arizona fucking
Definitely
days.
suspicious. It makes you wonder how deep that goes. Is he chilling in
Isn't
Valhalla right now? Yeah. That's the question.
And not only that, but like her mom's work for the government, doing government contracts. I think her father as well. That's kind of strange. I didn't know much about her until recently, and I still don't know much about her, so I don't it's hard to speak to that, but from what I have seen, I do think that is absolutely a suspicious background of, it seems to me that perhaps this was some kind of arranged relationship.
Exactly. It's like you said, there's unwitting and then there's witting assets, and she's definitely witting.
Well, it's pretty easy for a dude to be unwitting in that situation.
I mean, she's gorgeous. What are you going to do? And she fucking gets thrown at you by Trump and his handlers. Like, of course you're going to take the bait.
Yeah, she seems cool. She seems got a good head on her shoulders. So
the fact too that Charlie Kirk's father designed Trump Tower, there's that long-standing connection there. And yeah, it does sort of feel like these individuals are perhaps handled. And she could potentially be an unwitting asset. I don't know. She could be a witting one. It's just all very strange. Without no disrespect, but I just try to think about as a mother, like if I saw the father of my children, my husband, assassinated in that brutal, horrific way, like that would be so traumatizing. I don't think I'd be able to pull myself up together to do a speech to the nation.
You wouldn't pose by his casket.
Or the video with the casket, and people were saying,
that was creepy.
That's not weird. She's letting people say bye, and the fact that happened so quickly too, like, okay. So at that point, they already
was like within 48 hours, wasn't it?
Right? I guess that it was very quickly. And then of course the immediate announcement of like she's going to take over TPUSA. She already knows how to run the whole thing. And then they're saying, and this is what really creeped me out. They said Charlie, brought young men to the Republican Party. Erica is going to bring the young women. And I'm going, why would you say that? This man has just died and you're talking about bringing people to your stupid political party. What is wrong with you people?
Yeah, it's pretty obvious.
It's weird. It's creepy.
I don't know how anybody these guys have talked about it all the time. And Christina, you're very well versed in Gladio. I mean, it's culture war, and we all have to kind of take a step back, and regardless of like what side you're on, just take a step back and see the psyop for what it is. It's a psyop, and don't get wrapped up in it. Love your neighbors, talk to your neighbors, love your neighbors' kids, protect them. We're all in this together. And the more they try to divide us, you just got to keep pushing, man. Know your neighbors, talk to your neighbors. That's pretty much all I got, guys. Just fuck Israel. Just had to get that out there real quick. And I love all your content. And shout out Rage Child. Shout out chat. Love you guys. Bye.
Thanks, bud. Free Palestine. Do you got a call for us, Jacob? I see you hanging out there. I figured maybe that was what it was.
Yes, sir, I do. We've got Ryan on the line, so let's
see
make
how this
sure
works.
This works correctly.
I think it's the first time we're trying it.
Ryan, can you hear us?
Howdy. Yes, sir, I can. Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Nice.
Shit.
There you go.
Oh my God.
Awesome. We good to go?
We're good to go. What's up, man?
Good to go. How you doing, guys? Jose, Christina?
Good. Great to hear you. What's up?
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to some of these weird Erica Kirk or Erica France connections. It's all publicly available. I just went and looked at her mom's LinkedIn, and I did some digging, throughout the day, and these government contracting connections and the stuff that this lady's supposedly into. You have these integration of intelligent communication and transportation system technologies for regional solutions. So basically, she helped found a, I guess you could say like a transportation data collection firm where you put the stuff up on the on the billboards and whatnot. Connections through Arizona, similar to the Amber Alert chick involved in the Clinton Haiti thing. If y'all remember that.
Yep.
I can't remember what her name was.
Laura Silsby.
And then there's two other companies which are. Go ahead, Jose.
Laura Silsby. Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, Laura Silsby. There are two other companies that she founded which are very similar. The first one was G-Tech. It was developing products to mitigate the potential devastating damage as a result of an electromagnetic pulse. And then the third company is E3TEK. Yeah, I know. Some people like fishing. Some people like watching the NFL. Other people on their free time develop EMP resilient technology.
Yeah.
And the E3TEK group has a pretty, I guess you could say, a shady website. So what's worse, having a fake website where you claim to make EMP technology or making EMP technology? But if you go on the website of E3TEK, it details all these, fancy EMP things and how they work for the government and defense contractors, and something about a Joint Service Achievement Medal for classified operations during the Iraq and the Afghanistan war. And it's just, come on, guys.
Huh.
Insane.
Was it like a disaster preparedness thing? Is that what you're saying? Like electromagnetic stuff? Because you mentioned the Haiti thing, and they kind of, I guess my mind goes to kind of the dialectic of like problem solution, whatever. We have a disaster in Haiti, we can exploit it. And so, like, I imagine that, I don't know. It sounds like disaster preparedness of electromagnetic stuff, which is clearly they've been signaling that. They even had that one movie that Obama like produced or whatever. I forget what it's called, where it was like the world goes dark type thing. So they've been kind of getting us ready for that being like some sort of new age disaster or something. So I find it interesting. We have Erica Kirk, taking a big profile right now, and she's kind of perhaps connected to some sort of disaster preparedness for the next thing. So I don't know. Yeah.
Well, not disaster preparedness. Austin was on a show the other day where he talked about the idea of there being these counties, these cities, or basically these areas that have been captured, these cells. And I like the idea that the Frances family, the great grandfather was like knighted by the King of Sweden, and we can't find anything else about the dad and their shady connections. I like the idea that this is just a cell in Arizona, that she's from Miss Arizona, beauty pageants, right? All this nonsense,
yeah.
Right? That's, irrespective of, shady shit, right? Like the idea that, and that's not even counting the connection to the Romanian Mark Dutroux, right? Through her orphanage that was sending, mailing kids to Israel or whatever. So just shady connections. Just wanted to expand upon the last caller and get y'all's take on all that.
My take is that thing's sketchy. I don't know. Just say that's a lot to think about. I'm definitely going to have to re-looking at that. I don't know, Radix, any thoughts?
Yeah, I know. I'm like, oh my gosh, now I need to look into the parents more. No, that sounds bizarre, and like you said, it's not really normal, right? Is it for the average person? And that's what I thought too when I heard about Erica Kirk too. That she had created this Bible in 365 app, right? App creation. That's interesting. Then she also had a streetwear company as well. And I'm like, okay, this is not normal for your average young person to create two separate businesses and then to be, a pageant Miss Arizona, and then to be involved with an orphanage.
She got on that reality show too. That one reality show.
Yeah, I saw her on the reality show, right?
If you're involved, if you're doing anything with women or children in Eastern Europe, right, it's likely there's likely something going on there. I'll say that.
Not
and
looking
the
good.
pageant thing too is always, been very weird to me, and I think kind of connected to essentially prostitution.
Mm-hmm. She's the thing that kind of pushed me a little bit away from that, although it then raises another eyebrow, is that I always thought she probably was like a pageant girl. That was apparently she didn't get into the pageants until Miss America, but then even then now that sounds more like one of those glowy type family connected things, like how you hear things like, for example, Kevin Spacey's mom got the lottery or whatever at one point in time, and she literally even said that it was from a fairy godmother from the past gave it to her, and there are so many of these weird things that are clearly some sort of scams like that. So you're like, this feels like one of those ones like dropped into your lap, like here you go, like yeah.
Yeah, well, she was also a casting director for the pageants, not just participating in them. And I think also giving speeches or something. She did something with public speaking or speeches. So it is sort of like a strange background, to say the least. If she's not an asset of some kind, I guess she's just super productive and super lucky that her family had money and connections.
Mm-hmm. Well, all right. Thanks for joining us, caller. We'll probably move on to the next one. But thanks for calling. You're our first.
Thank you, Jose. Thank you, Jose. Thank you, Christina.
Thank you.
Thank you. You were our first.
That's so cool.
All right. Wow, that was fun. I like the call-in vibe. It seems a lot cooler. All right, cool. And then if you want to bring in some more people, Jacob. But that gives us a lot to think about. That's something. That's something. I mean, it does definitely feel like kind of fell into her lap type thing. I don't know what to make of all that. It is a lot. I mean, and then you pair it too with Trump and his whole look of the year stuff. I don't know if you've done what I've done recently and kind of. Or maybe you were already there before all this, but I know with the recent Epstein stuff, I've went and re-looked at some of the stuff in the past, reevaluated with fresh eyes, some of the Trump stuff, and kind of, I've been saying a lot. I think he's a pedophile. I genuinely think the President of the United States is a pedophile at this point in time, after some of the things I've dug into. Obviously, there's no smoking gun, but you kind of see enough things that you're like, come on, dude, he's a pedophile. But I mean, the John Casablancas was just the guy that his daughter, when she was 14 years old, he allowed to do modeling. Like, I mean, and then some of the birthday book stuff that's come out. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. That have you been re-attacked, or where were you? I'm kind of curious. Were you already there, or did you kind of where some of the Epstein stuff do like maybe perhaps what I did and go, oh shit, I need to look some of the old stuff and eyes start opening and going, oh my god, like the look of the year stuff, the John Casablanca stuff. I mean, some of the other connections were already kind of there, the Roy Cohn stuff, but those stuff you really start to look and you go, oh my god, like this guy, and then you sprinkle on the new Epstein book stuff, and you're like, he's a pedophile.
I definitely think it's possible. I have no idea if it's true or not, or if it was just some kind of other corruption, right? Because Epstein wasn't just a trafficker, he was also a money launderer, and he was doing other things as well. And when you look at Trump's background, Roy Cohn was his mentor. Roy Cohn was involved in child sex rings, but also one of his main specialties was blackmailing people, right? It was infiltrating, setting people up. So that's interesting. Roy Cohn himself being a child predator, and he was mentoring a young Trump and Roger Stone, which I find very interesting. Roger Stone has his own bizarre sexual deviancy.
Mm-hmm. Nixon cult.
Exactly. Not just that, but like the weird ads he was putting out looking for people to bang his wife and like this the swinger stuff. So there's that, and then too, look at the financial aspect of the casinos, right? Who is involved in that? Organized crime, right? So that has always been like something that stood out to me. His father, in his connection to the Jewish community, has always been something that was interesting to me. So I kind of was looking at it more of like, is he some kind of number one, but a federal asset himself? I don't know. Or involved in essentially organized crime. That's what it looks like to me. There's that New York, Moscow, Tel Aviv triangle of the Russian Jewish mafia. It's always the Italians that get smeared with that, but the real people running it, of course, is the Russian and Israeli for the most part.
The Sicilians with 3 parentheses around it. Looks like we have another call. I think this will be the last one, and I would like to get to bed, so I think this will we'll end it on this one. But go ahead, Jacob.
All right, Theodore, are you there? You're live.
Try that again. We lost you a little bit there.
Yes, sir.
Oh, there you are. What's up, caller? We can hear you.
Yeah, so the video that they sent out, James Lee, with the guy jumping off the roof, apparently we should be able to have seen where they took the shot from, but they never put that out there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Good call. Yeah. There's also people
that interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes no sense. Why? I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's some FBI reason that they give us later, but it makes no sense to me. Why wouldn't we just get the? We only saw him running. Like, they clearly had to. It was a decision to start that video at some point in time. I mean, it doesn't make sense that the video would start then. So yeah, it's kind of question everything. Why are we only getting that? So yeah, I mean, there's also people who have theorized it's AI. I don't know about all that, but huh?
I'm sorry. They already tainted the jury pool too. I mean, with putting all this stuff out there, right?
Yeah. Well, you'd know better than I would, Christina. You were a paralegal, right?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely what they've done, and it's to the point too where it is probably impossible for this guy to get a fair trial. Think about the news that has come out and the way that people are talking about him, demanding his execution, the emotional response to the event itself, where people are literally saying that Charlie died for our sins. It's bizarre. It would be impossible for this guy to get a fair trial. And they did the same thing to Luigi Mangione, by the way. They obviously had been tracking him from New York City, and I think they were using AI and a surveillance grid that is kind of undisclosed to track him to the Altoona McDonald's, because they actually had an NYPD officer there already. So it wasn't like, somebody just recognized him. That would have taken time for NYPD to get from New York to Pennsylvania, but they were already there. And I would suggest looking into Jessica Tisch, but they did this big perp walk of him with the Mayor Adams behind him and all these they had him come out of a freaking helicopter with all these feds behind him, like a full SWAT team. Insane visuals. Yeah, exactly. And, then the leaking of information to the media, documentaries coming out before there's even been a trial. It's just crazy with investigators giving information to HBO that his defense team didn't even have, how they violated his rights. They did an illegal search and seizure. They illegally detained him. They didn't read him his rights until 7 minutes into the illegal search and seizure. They violated his HIPAA by obtaining his medical records under false pretenses. The fact that they already threw out the terrorism charges. They knocked it down from murder 1 to murder 2. And I wonder if the same thing is going to happen with Tyler Robinson, just because of the fact that, like, there was that crime scene was not properly secured.
Nope.
And they have already lied. So much information that has, initially came out turned out to be false. And then they were saying too that they were
proven innocent nowadays.
Sorry, say that again, caller.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're guilty until proven innocent. I don't know when this changed, but I mean, I think it's been that way for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And then the other, one other weird thing to this is that I saw an article where the Pentagon was considering doing a recruitment
It's gross.
at TPUSA centers across the country. And also at the memorial, they had literally a sign up to vote booth there at the memorial service. Like, it's the whole thing is
Shameless.
just, yeah.
All right, thank you, caller, for joining us. I think we're going to go ahead and bring the call to the show to the end. Do you have any last final thoughts before we let you go? Otherwise, we love you, brother. Thanks for calling in.
Did you see that video for recruitment on the ICE video with Pokemon? That was
Yeah, I played that for the outro today. It was like, while I am like, that feels kind of gross because those are people with families and stuff. We're like, it's also hilarious. I can't help it.
Not funny.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you joining us. We're going to go ahead and bring it to an end. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. Christina, where can people find you at?
You can find me on Twitter at NotRadix, NOTRADIX, and you can find me on YouTube at Radix Verum.
Awesome. For those who want to support what I'm doing over here, leave a like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. You can follow me on Twitter at TowerGangJose as well. All those things are steps that can that help the show grow without chipping in any money whatsoever. But if you do want to help the show in the best way you can, give me money over at patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. The lowest level is $2. I give you guys access to early episodes there. I usually do about 1 to 2 a week behind the paywall. I usually keep about 4 or so behind the paywall at any given time. For example, I got Nick Bryan coming on tomorrow morning. Or not tomorrow morning, tomorrow night for the paywalled episode. So that if you're poor, you're going to have to wait a couple weeks. But if you are poor, I will let you know I do have Ken coming on tomorrow morning, so you can join me for the morning stream. And then I also have Kyle Anzalone joining me on Thursday. So I do have plenty of guests for the poors. But if you do want to chip in a buck and get a little something early, help a brother out over there. You also get access to the ad-free RSS feed. You get access to Telegram, and you also get access to the pre-show and the post-show, and access to the video calls on this show, Already Dead. Also, I give a big shout-out to my sponsors who are my highest level on Patreon, and I give them a big shout-out for everything they do in supporting the show. My previous co-hosts on Tower Gang, at Tower Gang Toad, also at Brigades, as the OVRCK, at _Vizil, Tim Tuttle, at John Cleeple, Will Bills, Delicious Blueberry Rabbit Eye Wine, big fan of the show, Tormay, at Wayne Taculus, the Catcher in the Rye, and Mark Vestibule. And with that, guys, we're going to get out of here. We'll catch you guys next week. Keep in mind, I need a guest for next week since Austin's out, so find me a guest. Tag people. Do whatever. Hey, this guy, that guy. Everyone, go bother Kurt Metzger. I fucking want him on the show. But thanks for joining us, Christina. Make it happen. Everyone tag him. Make his life hell. All right. Love you all. We'll see you guys next week. Catch me in the morning show. Tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. I'll have Ken Silva with me talking about all the craziness in the Routh case. And with that, we're out of here. But yeah, it's nuts. Bye-bye.